about the student t-test. The student t-test is one of a very important statistical tool that we use when we are dealing with a sample that has a small sample size. And also, the population variance is unknown. So when you are dealing with a sample of a small sample size and the population variance from which you obtain that sample is unknown, then you will likely be using the t-test. The t-test is a very important statistical tool that was developed in industrial research, and it is traceable to a particular statistician that actually worked with the Beauty company. My name is Dr. Felix Ayodele Oyeleye. If this is the first time you are joining me on this channel, please don't hesitate to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share with others so that they could benefit. If this is the first time you are hearing about t-test, or probably you have even been using this particular statistical tool in your research, but you are not too grounded as to the assumptions involved in the use of the student t-test, this is the right place for you. Within the next few minutes, I'm going to be explaining what the t-test is and the circumstance under which we make use of it. But before I start, I'm going to take you through what I call the learning objective. So, at the end of this particular presentation, I expect you to be able to tell what the student t-test is all about. And again, you should be able to differentiate between the three types of t-tests that we have. And of course, you should be able to compute and interpret simple t-test results. And I'm also going to give you opportunity to attempt a few exercises that will help you to be grounded in the understanding of this statistical tool. So let's start with what the student t-test is all about. So, like a brief history, I've laid the foundation already that is to be traced, or it is tied. The student t-test history is tied to the industrial research, where you have a statistician specifically named William Seeley Gossett between 1876 and 1937. He actually worked with that company at a time where researchers depend on their person statistical tests for investigating samples obtained from population. But this particular test is most suitable for large sample size. Okay. Meanwhile, the test the statistician wanted to conduct, Gossett, is something very small. So he needed something that will be able to manage a small sample size. And that is when he invented the concept of the student t-test. So in other words, what happened was that he discovered a new probability distribution, which is now named as the student t-test. Now, after he succeeded in that particular research, he published his finding. And because at that time, the company does not want much publicity, he had to publish his finding under the pseudonym student to comply with the company policy. That's why we call it the student t-test. Okay, that research was actually published in 1908. Now, again, the student t-test is more appropriate for small sample inference, and when the population variance, or call it the standard deviation, is actually not known. But over time, it became a cornerstone in modern statistical inference, both in sciences and also in medicine. So in a nutshell, what is the student t-test? The student t-test is the statistical tool we use to compare mean with when our population standard deviation is actually unknown, or the population variance, and also when our sample size is small. Now, by definition, the sample size that is below 30 is considered small. So when your sample size is less than 30, student t-test is most likely going to be the test you are going to work with. But more importantly, if the population standard deviation is not known, even if your sample size is as much as 100, you are likely going to still make use of the student t-test. So the priority is in the knowledge of your standard deviation of the mean population from which you obtain that particular sample. So what do we use t-test for? We use it to test whether the difference in our mean is actually likely due to chance. You have obtained two means, or you are dealing with two means, okay, obtained from two different data sets. Now, if you want to know if the difference you're observing from the two means are due to chance, then you make use of the student t-test, provided the aforementioned conditions are met. What are the conditions? Number one, you are dealing with a small sample size. Number two, the standard deviation of the population from which you obtain that sample is actually unknown. But it's important to state that the more the more you have the increase in the sample size of any data set, the more it approximates to our Z distribution. So many a times the student t-test and the Z test is used depending on the circumstance or the situation we find ourselves. More importantly, if the population standard deviation is either known or unknown. If the population standard deviation is known, you're most likely going to be using your Z test. But if the population standard deviation is unknown, you're most likely going to be using your student t-test. Good. So this is a diagram showing our t-test and a normal distribution. Again, I mentioned that our t-test often approximates to our normal distribution. More importantly, when our sample size increases, at a point, our t-test will approximate our normal distribution. Now, what are the types of t-tests that we have? Basically, we have three types. We have the one sample t-test. We also have the independent two sample t-test. And then we have the pair t-test. Our one sample t-test, we compare a sample mean with a hypothesized mean. Okay? Hypothesized in the sense that this is a concept, an idea that is generally known or claim. A claim that is widespread is hypothesized mean. If we believe the mean age of young people entering colleges is 18, and somebody came to disprove it, now the person will have to take a sample and obtain a mean from the sample he has taken and compare that mean with our hypothesized mean. That is our generally claimed mean, which is 18. So, on the other hand, the independent two sample t-test compares two independent group means. Okay? In the first instance of the one sample t-test, we only took a sample from which our mean is compared to a hypothesized mean. But in the case of independent two sample t-test, we have two different groups, okay, from which we obtain two means and we compare the two together. We compare one with the second one. Now, the pair t-test is used when we are dealing with a group and there's need for us to obtain information from that group at different stage or different period, like in a longitudinal study. In the first instance, we obtained data from the group and then we found the mean. And then we waited maybe after an intervention. And then we took information again from the group and we found the mean. And then we compare the initial mean with the second mean that we have obtained. So we describe that as paired t-test. Please take note, the paired t-test is otherwise referred to as the dependent t-test because the information we obtain from the same subject depends on one another. Good. So let's look at a few key assumptions about our t-test distribution generally. The first assumption is that random sampling, the random sampling applies to independent t-test where you have two samples. So it is assumed that our sample was obtained randomly. Okay, we don't allow bias in obtaining those samples. Let's say we want to study the performance of a particular crop. Okay, now we took a sample at a point. We went again and took another sample. We have two independent samples. But how did we take those two samples? It must be done randomly. In other words, it must be without bias. We must have used a probability method to obtain our sample. So this is a very important assumption when it comes to t-test dealing with independent sample t-test. Now the second assumption is normality. Okay, the sample we are dealing with must be normally distributed. Okay, in other words, when we plot a frequency distribution curve for our data set, that curve must follow a normal distribution pattern. Good. Now the third assumption is that when our variances are similar, it becomes easier for us to use our two sample t-test. But in a situation whereby the variances of our two groups are different, then it is important we consider the alternative, which is the wedge test. So it's important we note the assumptions before we make use of t-test. If these assumptions are violated, if we go ahead to apply the t-test statistics to our data set, our conclusion will actually be statistically wrong. So let's look at a few worked examples. The first example here is on dog heart rate. The dog heart rate sample mean is given to us as 82 beats per minute, while the hypothesized mean is given to us as 80 beats per minute. Now, this is an example of a one sample t-test. Okay, we have a sample mean and we also have a hypothesized mean. Now, we want to compare these two mean to know if the difference we have observed from these two mean, of course, the difference is 2. If this difference is just due to chance or it is something substantial, something statistically significant. Okay, so the standard deviation is given to us as 8. Of course, this will be the standard deviation of our sample. Okay, while the sample size is also 25. So you can appreciate the sample size is also small. Recall I mentioned that as long as your sample size is less than 30, it is considered small. So the question here is the mean difference from 80 BPM? In other words, this hypothesized mean, is it significantly different from the 82 we obtained from our sample? And then we want to test this using a p-value of 0.05. So that is the concept of applying a one sample t-test. So what we just wanted to know in this particular example is to determine the actual type of t-test to use for this particular data set, to investigate this data set, or to test the hypothesis for this data set. And we have established that to be what? One sample t-test. Good. So our one sample t-test, again, we have a sample mean and then we have a hypothesized mean. Very, very important. So here is a good example that takes beyond deciding it is a one sample t-test, we also do the calculation. Okay, we calculate the t-statistics. What do? Is we apply the formula. The formula is given to us on this slide. We just apply the formula and then we obtain our t-statistic. It is the t-statistics that we compare with the value, the critical value we obtain on our t-test table. It's important to know that. So when you compare the t-statistics here with the one you obtain from your table with the specified level of significance, you will know if your result is statistically significant. Ordinarily, if your t-statistics, okay, if your t-statistic is greater than your critical one, then it means it has fallen into what? The rejection zone. That is when you are rejecting your null hypothesis. Good. So let's look at the next example. Now, the next example is on the independent sample t-test. And the example we have is on milk yield. So we have group A milk, we have group B milk. Okay. So these are like yields of milk, maybe from two different heads or maybe a particular head. But we have obtained two groups. The first one, we got a milk yield of 20 liters per day. The second group, we got a milk yield of 23 liters per day. This is the average milk yield for these two groups. So it is this average, or call it the mean, that we are comparing. Take note again that t-test is all about comparing mean. And because we are comparing means from two groups, it becomes what? Independent sample t-test. Okay? Independent sample t-test. So the same pattern we follow for one sample t-test is also what we do here. After we have arrived at the appropriate t-test, the next thing is to test our what? Is to test our findings. Okay? But take note, if the variances are different, then we have to use the wedge test instead of using the independent sample t-test. The wedge test provides us an alternative wherever our variances, the variances of the two groups are actually different. Now, here we have it in our charts. The first group A mean, we compare it with group B mean, and then we want to look at this difference we are seeing between the two mean. Are they statistically what? Significant? Here again is an illustration of all what we have been talking about the two sample student t-test. So we compare two diets. The first diet, we have the sample size to be 30, and then we have the mean, okay, to be 4.5, and then we have our variance to be what? 0.5. And then for the second diet, we have our sample size to be 28, our mean is 4.5. So we may want to compare. So this is just to illustrate, and this is the formula for two sample t-test. The formula for one sample t-test is different from the formula of two sample student t-test. Good. So let's look at the third example, which is the paired sample student t-test. In the case of the paired sample, recall I mentioned that it is otherwise described as dependent sample t-test. We often apply it when we are dealing with a single sample, okay, but from which we took information, maybe twice, to the same subject, we took information like before and after. So that is why the paired sample is also described or referred to as before and after student t-test. Okay, so we have a particular subject or a group of subjects. We took information from them at a point. Maybe we made an intervention. Maybe we injected certain things, or maybe we just introduced something, and we are hoping to see the impact of that intervention. That is when we talk of the peer sample t-test, and this is the formula for our peer sample t-test. Good. So let's look at a quick review of what I've said so far. I said for our one sample t-test, we are supposed to have a mean, and then we compare that mean with a hypothesized mean. So that when you have hypothesized mean and a sample mean, definitely you'll be using one sample t-test. But wherever you have two means, like comparing weight of two cattle breeds, so which of the tests are you going to use here? You'll use two sample t-tests. While for the pair sample t-test, you have the pre and the post-treatment parasites. You made an intervention, and then before you made that intervention, you took information from the group. After the intervention, then you took another information. You want to know the impact of your intervention. That is where we use the peer sample t-test. If you are just joining me on this video, don't hesitate to like the video. It is research and statistics where we learn every concept of statistics and academic research. So as I round up, I have a few questions. You may want to pause this video and look at this question and attempt them and see if you will be able to decide the appropriate t-test that should actually be applied. So I have here question 1 to 3 and also question 4 to 5. So what is the take home of this particular presentation? Number 1, you must choose the right t-test for your design. You must appreciate the information provided, and that will guide you to know the appropriate t-test. Number 2, you make use of your wedge test if variances differ. More importantly, for independent two-sample t-test. And again, it is worthy of note to stress that statistical significance does not equal clinical importance. So if you are conducting a study and t-test appears to be the appropriate test for you to apply for your study, please take note, even after you have arrived at a statistical significance, it is important you want to check the effect size. You also want to check the confidence interval to be sure that they all agree so that your interpretation, your reportage can actually be strengthened. This is the model we're going to take from this presentation, research and statistics. Please don't hesitate to like the video again, share it with others, and subscribe to this channel. And I will see you in my next video. Thanks for listening.